In my kitchen today, we're gonna make cube steak, homemade mashed potatoes with homemade gravy, broccoli, and green peas. My husband doesn't like broccoli, so we're gonna do green peas. I'm dicing the potatoes. I have them diced into cubes so that we can get them fork tender. For mashing, we're gonna mash them up and add our ingredients to that. But while they're boiling, we're gonna go ahead, add salt, and get them going to boil. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and begin to season our cube steak. The cube steak, we're just gonna add complete seasoning. We're gonna flip, once we season one side, we're gonna flip to the other side. I was out of garlic salt. I usually don't use the complete seasoning, but complete seasoning, that's my go-to when I don't have one. Yes, then we're gonna add the seasoning salt there. That was seasoning salt. And we're gonna add garlic powder. And we flip them over, and we're gonna do the exact same thing to the other side. But the Lowry seasoning salt, you can use that. That's my own blend, but you can use the Lowry seasoning salt. And the Lowry's garlic salt, it gives it an amazing flavor. So there, we add the seasoning salt. And then we're gonna add complete seasoning. Then we're gonna go back over it. That's the complete seasoning bottle there. Then we're gonna go back over it with the garlic powder. Okay, I already have my pan on the stove getting hot with the oil. You just need a little bit of oil in the pan. And we're not gonna drown these with flour. We're just gonna tap it over the top because they're gonna go into a gravy. So we don't want it super breaded, but we're gonna tap those over, get all five. Right now I'm just cooking for me and most of the time it's just me and my husband. My son kind of comes in with his own food or whatever. At times he'll eat because certain things he doesn't eat. So my portions are small here, as you can see. This was just 3 cube steaks. 2 of them I cut in half. Okay, we're gonna get all of those into the fryer. Into the frying pan. And we're gonna let them fry. We don't need them super brown, super hard. We just need to brown them. Then we're gonna flip them over, and all of the stuff that's in the pan afterwards, we're not gonna get rid of that stuff. I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do to make homemade gravy. But right now we're just gonna go ahead, let those fry. And that flour that you see sitting on the counter there, that's going to be used for the gravy, so we won't get rid of that. We won't be wasting any flour or anything with this recipe. Now, I have the blue pot that you see on the stove there. That was a ham seasoning when it's just a small amount and I don't want to use smoked meat, like boiled smoked meat. I use that ham seasoning. My husband, he doesn't eat broccoli, so we're going to make him sweet peas, the green peas. But I'm adding just a little bit of that ham seasoning. And then I add a little bit of chicken bouillon, and I'm going to cut up an onion in there. For just 1 can, what I'm going to do is add just a half of a chicken bouillon. I'm just going to break that over in there. And then I'm going to just a few slices of onion. I'm going to put that in there. So now we have the butter inside. We have the ham seasoning. We have the chicken bouillon. And right now, getting my onion together, I'm just going to slice those over into the pot. While I have the cube steak that's still frying. Like I said, we're not going to make them super brown because we still want them juicy in the end. We don't want them dry in the gravy. But yeah, put a couple of slices of onion in there. And once I do that, I'm just gonna add the sweet peas into the pot with a little seasoning salt, and I'm gonna cover it and let it simmer. But notice that I have the cube steak uncovered the entire time. My grease wasn't quite hot enough, but once you have that grease hot enough for pork chops, cube steak, any of those flat fried meats, that'll keep the skin from coming off of it. In this particular one, my grease wasn't quite hot. It was hot now, but it wasn't quite hot enough. You saw it started frying as soon as I put the meat inside. So we're gonna just put a lid on those and let those go. For me, I won't have the broccoli on video, but what I do is I just add a little butter, some minced garlic, and onion, and then I put the broccoli in there and I just let her steam for a couple minutes and take her out. But right now I'm going to go ahead and flip these cube steak. As you can see, they look nice on the other side. And we're going to let the other side get just that same color. We're going to take them out and we're going to begin to do the gravy. And again, it's very important not to fry the cube steak too hard, because it takes away from the flavor that it's supposed to have once we make that gravy for it. Once we sit it into the gravy and we're gonna let it simmer, I'm gonna just put it in my warm zone while I get everything else going, mash the potatoes and everything. But I have my potatoes going there, coming to a boil there. And once I put the food together, I'm gonna make one plate with mashed potatoes, gravy, and sweet peas, and then I'm gonna make another plate with mashed potatoes, gravy, and broccoli. I love broccoli with a dish like this. Corn and sweet peas is really good with it too. So you can do the corn just as I did the sweet peas. I do that with most of my meats. If I'm cooking a lot, I go ahead and I boil some smoked pigtails or smoked neck bones, whatever I have in the freezer, just for that nice smoky flavor. And I add onions and I season it and put that corn down in it and let it go. But that's when I'm cooking a lot. When it's a small amount, there's no need to go ahead and put a whole thing of boiled meat there. I mean, for me, what I want to do as less time as possible when I'm in the kitchen. So if it's not necessary, I won't do it. Okay, the cube steak is ready. I'm putting that on the plate, and I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to start doing my gravy. So once I have these out, I'm gonna pour most of that grease out. I may have to add a taste to it, but here I've poured most of the grease out. All of that in the bottom, I want all of that good stuff for the gravy. Now the flour that I had sitting there, I'm just gonna add that to it and I'm gonna let it fry. As you're stirring, you're gonna see that the roux becomes darker and darker. Just let it go ahead and stir. You may have to add a little oil, like to this. I think I'm gonna have to add a tinge of oil to this. You don't want it to chalk up like that. What you want is to have it nice and just friable. Nice and friable. Okay, I'm adding a little bit more oil, and you see how that little bit of oil, you see how it looks on there? So now I'm just gonna continue to stir, and you'll see it's gonna begin to get darker and darker, and then we're gonna add the onions. Just continue to stir. You don't want that flour to burn or be uneven. So I just continue stirring. And then once it comes to like a nice brown color, that's when you go ahead and you add your onions. But you see that's turning nice and dark. And notice that it's not like dark in some spots, bright in other spots. We're trying to keep it just about the same color all the way around, so you just continue to stir. Okay, so now this is a nice color. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is, with that, I'm just gonna go ahead and put my onions inside. And then I'm gonna stir. Once you put those onions in there, oh my God, it starts to smell so good. You begin to see what you're creating. You begin to smell it. So you'll know if you're on the right track. If you follow these instructions, you'll totally be on the right track. And then I have about a cup of water on standby. As you can see, my potatoes, they are just about ready. I'm gonna keep I have about a cup and a half of water in my cup so far. So what I'm gonna do is begin to add the water to that. And it's up to you. Once you get it going, you'll know if it's the consistency you want. If you want like a super thick gravy, you don't add as much water. But if you want a nice gravy, because you're gonna add your meat a little not so thick, I will put it like that, because the cube steak, it does have flour on it already. So once that all gets in there, it's gonna thicken up anyway. So now I'm adding a little bit more water. I want it to the consistency that I want. So I just add as I think I need. Now with gravy shouldn't be really runny anyway. So you just get it to a nice thick consistency, and I'm just gonna keep stirring. Now I see I need a little more water, so that's probably gonna be all the water that I use there, because it looks like it's a nice consistency right now. And that's homemade gravy there. Okay, a taste more water. Once I rubbed those sides, I saw that I needed more water, because you're getting the flour. You want all of the flour that was stuck on the bottom of the pan. You want all of that from all around the edges, so you'll know when it's right. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of seasoning salt. These I don't like with my seasoning. It's certain things that I'm a stickler for what I put in my food. So with certain things, I rarely change what I put in it. I would usually use my seasoning, but the Lawry seasoning salt, it's amazing with it. You're gonna put a little bit of MSG. If you don't use MSG, it's no big deal, but I like it because it kicks up the flavor. And then I'm gonna crack some pepper over it, and that'll be my gravy. And then I'm gonna turn her, once I put the pepper in, I'm gonna turn her down to a simmer, and we're gonna add the cube steak back to it, and we're just gonna let that go on a low simmer until I get everything else going. Okay, I'm cracking the black pepper over it right now. So look at that. It looks really good. And that's again a homemade gravy. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add the meat back into the pan momentarily. We have a nice gravy there. And once we add the meat, we're gonna go ahead and, like I said, we're gonna cover it, and we're gonna let it go right back to a really low simmer. I'm just gonna put it in my little spot where I keep the pot warm, so that I can go ahead and start my potatoes. Once it simmers down to where I want it, I'm gonna put it in my little warm zone, and then I'll start the potatoes. I have all 5 pieces inside of my pan there. And my peas are about ready also, so I'm gonna be cutting those off shortly. Okay, we're gonna cover up and let her go just for a little while, and then we'll start on our potatoes. But this is where we are with it right now. As you can see, it looks really good. My peas are totally done there. I'm gonna sit and do it. Actually, I'm turning the eye off on that. And then I just drained my potatoes. They were fork tender. I drained them. Now I'm gonna make the sauce for the potatoes. And what I do here, I just added a tablespoon of butter. And we're gonna let the butter melt down. Once that butter melts down, again, we're just gonna go ahead and add garlic to that. But this is gonna be where we begin to do the sauce for the potatoes. So we're gonna saute the garlic in the butter, and then we'll go ahead and we'll add the cream to it. I use half and half. You can use heavy cream. It's up to you. But we're gonna go ahead and get this sauce going. Now, I'm gonna add, as you can see, a tablespoon of garlic. That's all I need. Now the butter is nice and melted. We're gonna just saute it in there. Stir it around. Let that butter and garlic blend. Now just have it go in there. That's just the butter and the garlic. I haven't added the cream to it yet. You're just gonna let that go for a minute or so, but this is where I add my cream. I would say that's about a cup and a half. I'm sure I have a little more than I need, but I like to add according to the fluffiness of my potatoes. We don't want runny potatoes. We want a nice consistency on it. We want mashed potatoes. So I'm gonna begin the process while the sauce is going. I'm gonna go ahead and mash my potatoes. As you see how tender they are. I drained all the water. I let them sit for a little while, so it's not any water in the potatoes. These are just potatoes. So I'm gonna mash those. And once I get them how I want them, we're gonna add some butter to it. But right now, let me just get it to where I want it. Okay. Right now we're gonna do 3 tablespoons of butter. Continue to mash those up. And the potatoes hot. The potatoes are hot, so the butter is gonna melt. But as you can see, the potatoes, they look really, really good. And I haven't even added the cream to it yet. But the cream has been going for about 4 or 5 minutes on a boil. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna strain the garlic off. So now you have a buttery, garlicky cream sauce that we're gonna add, as well as some sour cream to our potatoes. And with the potatoes, we added salt in the beginning. We may need a dash of salt here and there, but as we're mixing, we'll taste it, make sure that it's not bland. So right now, we're just gonna get a glop or so of sour cream. That was 2 nice spoonfuls. Now, as you know, now I'm mixing it with the spoon. I don't have to mash it anymore because I don't like it super smooth. That's just our preference. Whatever, it's the same process to it, but if you like it a little smoother, break it up or just add more liquid. But for us, we don't like it smooth. We like some good mashed potatoes. So I've added the sour cream. Now there we are with our sauce. I'm gonna pour some in, and then I'm gonna just kind of fold the potatoes over, and then we're gonna see where we're at with the amount of sauce that I have in there right now. Okay, it looks like I may need a little more of that sauce, but it smells really, really good. Really, really good. You ever sit in a restaurant and you know when it's some good mashed potatoes? That's the smell that I'm getting right now. See how I'm just folding the mashed potatoes over? Now I'm gonna add a little more of the sauce to it, but let me go ahead and we're gonna do a taste to make sure. Now see, we need salt. Add just a pinch of salt. And there we are with the sauce. Now the sour cream, it kind of gives it, even though I don't like mine real runny, it still gives it that fluffiness when I add that sour cream to it. And the sour cream with that garlic cream sauce, it really, really gives it a good flavor. Really gives it a really, really nice flavor. So I'm just folding the mashed potatoes over into the pot. It looks like it's pretty good to me. Okay, so our potatoes are done there. Now we have everything done. That's our cube steak, our sweet peas, our mashed potatoes. And for the broccoli, I just went ahead and added a little butter, some onions, a little garlic, and I put them in and I let them steam for about 5 minutes. And this is the end result. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. Thanks for watching.